Hey, this is Leo from Practical Data Training. Today I want to show you a dashboard I created that manages my freelancing business on Upwork. Now this is a pretty simple dashboard. There's only two data sources, but it shows a lot of my philosophy in building dashboards. Now the first thing you'll notice is it's pretty simple. I don't have a lot of colors. I don't have a dark background or anything like that. I have some charts that are important to me and some KPIs here on the right side that provide summarized information. Another thing you'll notice is the header right here. I cut it off before these slicers. And the reason I do that is because this is the area I want people to focus on. I don't want them focusing on the slicers, so I put this cut off here, even though it might look a little bit awkward with the slicers on the side. As another benefit, if I want to take a screenshot, I can do that. I can include the header and not have to put the slicers in. So if I were to put this into a report or something like that, that would work. Now let's take a little dive into the dashboard. I have two sources of data. One is manually tracked proposals that I submitted to jobs on Upwork. And on Upwork, someone will submit a job post and freelancers can go there and submit their proposals. I want to know if I'm doing a good job submitting proposals. And since I do earn money and I have fees, I might as well include that as well. So you'll see here is a summary page that's just looking at trending on earnings, service fees, interview rate, and the total proposals. And each one of these has a specific purpose. I want to know if I'm earning money, and certainly I saw an upward trend up through February, and in March it's gone down quite a bit, but March isn't done. My service fees, that's important. I'm looking at a percentage because Upwork has a sliding scale on service fees. So if you bid on larger jobs, you'll end up paying a lower percentage in a service fee. So you want to see that going down and approaching 10%. Now, what I'm really most interested in is how effective are my proposals. And what I see here is an interview rate. So out of 10 proposals, how many did I get an interview on? And looks like I'm doing pretty good. December dropped to 0, but I only had one proposal, so that's not a very good test. But it looks like it's been going up. And then total proposals. Whenever you have a rate, it's good to show something about volume. For instance, you can see this 0% in December for the rate, but the volume was 1. So I'm not really too concerned about that. Same with March. Looks like only one proposal this month. Now, when you have these trends, it's good so you can see them over time, but you also want to have some summarized numbers, and that's what we have here. So here's my total earnings, total service fees, so on and so forth. I track the jobs to see, did they ever interview someone after they posted a job, and did they ever hire? So it turns out, at least in the jobs I proposed for, about 50% hired someone and the rest didn't hire anyone. And I actually can show that here. So if I were to look at all of the proposals, my numbers are going to drop. My interview rate will go down. And that's okay because I only really care about the people that hire. If they didn't hire anyone, then I'm not really that interested in knowing whether they interviewed me or not. And so that becomes more important. So it's the message there is when you look at the data, you have to make sure you understand the process behind it, the business process. And in this case, knowing that some people don't hire allows me to segment this data into what's important. Now I can go into more details on proposals and even look at not only did they interview me, but did they offer me the job, and offers by bid. So what was the amount I bid? And this page isn't all that important. Really what I care about is the interview percentage, but it's still good to look at the volume indicators. But it leads me to another thing. You'll notice that I don't have the filter pane open, or it's open and there's not much there. I don't want end users messing with the filter pane in Power BI. And you shouldn't either. Filters here in the filter pane should only be used when you need to set default filters on a visual, and I'll show you one in a minute. Instead, you should use slicers, and in many cases you can use a tree map, and that offers more information than just a slicer, and it's useful when you only have a few values. So here we have did hire, and if you remember, that's they posted a job, but did they actually hire someone? We can see that they're split pretty close to 50-50, and so we have some additional information that a slicer like did hire here doesn't really give you. So using a tree map is often a great way to add a filter, or the equivalent of a slicer, to your report. And I did it here with did hire, pay type, and skill level. And as you get more and more possible values, these become less useful. Unless you have a lot of values, what this would do is show you the most important ones, or the ones with the most volume in the data. So you don't want to use, or you don't want end users using this filter pane here. So instead use slicers, and in some cases it's appropriate to use a tree map because it takes a similar amount of space if you wanted to show all the selections, and it provides more information. So I could look at here and say did hire equals true, and maybe I only want to look at hourly. And Power BI will let me do that. So it's a nice way to add some interactivity to your dashboard. Now another thing you'll notice is I don't have data labels. It's generally considered best practice to add data labels to your charts, but I find that they're distracting from the bigger picture, particularly when you're looking at trending. And since this is an interactive dashboard, if I really want to get the right numbers, I can just hover and get those numbers, and that works just as well. Now, if I was intending to print this out a lot or put it in a presentation, then I'd probably add the data labels. And maybe if I just needed, say, this one chart for a slide, I'd add the data labels, take a screenshot, and put them back to the way they are. Now the next thing is, this is manually entered data, so I want to manage that data right from this dashboard. For the proposals, I store them in an Azure database. Costs me about $5 a month, so not too expensive. And I have a normalized set of tables that stores the information correctly. And I have a flat view if I want to look at it. I can do it that way, and I don't have to worry about joining the dimensions and whatnot. But this data, it needs to be updated. So I'll submit a proposal, and then I'll go back and see, did they hire someone? And once they hired someone or they canceled the job, then I'm going to collect some other information like, did they interview anyone? What was the number of proposals they got? Upwork gives it to us kind of in a range. And also I can get the min, mean, and max proposed budget for various jobs. And this is something I can use to dig deeper and try to look for correlations in my practice. Like maybe if I bid higher than the max, I'm more or less likely to get the job. Who knows? But the important thing is I want to track this data so I can use it, and I do it right from here. I submit new proposals. Once I've submitted them on Upwork, I put the information in here, and then I update them from here. And I'm using Power Apps. Microsoft has a pretty nice platform with no code. You can build an application. This would work on a phone as well, that you can use to view and update data. So once a week or so, I'll go in and I'll look at these jobs, click on the link, maybe just pull this to the side, and we can see it's no longer available, which I count as canceled. And once it's canceled, I don't care about any of the data. Doesn't matter to me, so I'm just going to mark this as canceled. It's over here somewhere. And it's going to disappear from this view because I do have a filter in the filter pane that lets me know once they hired or canceled, I don't need to update it anymore. And so that's a case of using default filters in the filter pane, but not expecting end users to do anything with it. And finally, data quality. Whenever you create a dashboard, you should strongly consider having a tab, a page, or a section just for data quality. Now, in my case, all of these proposals are manually entered and manually updated. And as we all know, manual equals mistakes. I knew there would be issues, and I found some, so I created just a quick report that shows us which proposals have a problem. For instance, we have mismatched dates, which means the proposal date, the date I proposed, is higher than the date the job was posted, which is impossible. You post a job, then I can propose. So what that tells me is chances are I just swapped them. I put the job post date and proposal date, and I put the proposal date and job post date. So in this case, I can come in here, say, all right, that one's 5, this one is 9. Looks like they were the same minutes, so that's okay. And now that one's fixed. Now I have some other ones like same job and proposal link. So when I copied the links to the job and the proposal, I put the proposal link in both places. So I can go back and get that information and update it. And I should get it down to where the data quality equals 0. Data quality is one of the few things I rarely see anyone else do in my experience in past jobs or in working with people. But when I show them examples of how using a data quality section of your dashboard can really help, people usually love it, and I would highly recommend it for almost any dashboard. Well, there you go. There's one example of a simple dashboard, and if you'd like to learn how to create dashboards like this and even more complicated, let's have a chat. Thank you.